Hey, good morning or afternoon or evening. I'm Chase Cunningham or Dr. Cunningham or Dr. Zero Trust, whatever. Let's get into cyber stuff because, man, it's busy already. Beginning with M&S, Marks and Spencer confirms, and this is in the news, so you know it's pretty legit. Social engineering led to massive ransomware attack. Let's get deeper into this because there's a lot to break down here. It's confirmed today that the retail outlets network was initially breached in a quote sophisticated impersonation attack that ultimately led to a Dragon Force ransomware attack. As Chairman Archie Norman revealed this in a hearing with the UK Parliament's Business and Trade Subcommittee. While Norman did not go into details, which is always super helpful, he stated that threat actors impersonated one of the 50,000 people working with the company to trick a third-party entity into resetting an employee's password. Man, that sounds super crazy sophisticated, has never been done in the history of cyber ever, and that is a super focused, targeted APT hack that only a nation state with quantum level of capabilities could get by. Let's see. It was a sophisticated impersonation. They didn't just walk up and say, "Will you change my password?" No, they probably emailed or called. They appeared to somebody with their details. So they did a bit of their work, a little bit of the recon. And part of the entry also involved a third party. So they reached out to the lowest hanging fruit, third party vendors, contractors. As reported by FT in May, IT outsourcing company Tata Consultancy Services, I remember talking about that, had begun investigating whether it was inadvertently involved in the M&S attack. Tata provides help desk support, there you go, for M&S when it's believed to have been tricked by the threat actors into resetting an employee's password, which was then used for that breach. For the first time, M&S referenced the Dragon Force ransomware operation as the potential attacker and stated it was believed to be operating from Asia. This is a quote. The instigator of the attack is believed to be Dragon Force, who are ransomware operators based in, we believe, Asia. As first reported by Bleeping Computer, the attack on M&S was conducted by threat actors linked to Scattered Spider, who deployed the Dragon Force ransomware. So there's a bit of a twist in that narrative there, too. This led M&S to purposely shut down all their systems to prevent the spread of the attack. However, by then it was too late because they didn't have micro-segmentation in place. Wah wah. Numerous VM ESXi servers encrypted and sources telling basically that everything got fucked. The ransomware operation employs a double extortion tactic, which is always nice, which involves not only encrypting devices, but also stealing data and threatening to publish it if the ransom is not paid. When asked about the ransom demands during the hearings, Norman said they took a hands-off approach when dealing with the threat actors. Here's a quote from this dude. Quote, "We took an early decision that nobody at M&S would deal with threat actors directly. We felt that the right thing would be to have this professionals take care of this matter." Norman is likely referring to ransomware negotiation firms to help negotiate with threat actors. When explicitly asked if they paid the ransom demand, Norman said they were not discussing these details publicly as they, quote, "don't think it's in the public interest." Yeah, right. So there you go. So does anyone think that M&S, how much money does M&S make a year? Like, let's just see this because M&S, Marks and Spencer's revenue, how much money do they make a year? And what do they, Marks and Spencer, cool. Let's see what their revenue is. If I can type 13, that's a lot of cheddar. Let's go to Statista because, it's not perfect, but it's better than whatever. And there's your cookies, which no one gives a shit about. Total revenue of approximately 13.8 billion British pounds. Now, does anyone logically think that a company that's got that much money, that much revenue, that much capability, that's probably spending a fucking ass load on cybersecurity stuff, think they didn't train their people, think they didn't do phishing training, 50,000 employees, but here you go, people still relying on this as a stopgap. Really, if you read through what happened, micro-segmentation would have helped, multi-factor authentication would have helped, browser isolation would have helped. There's a whole lot of things that we talk about as best practices that would have basically helped here, but they weren't in play. So the question I would ask is, M&S, why weren't those things in place? Especially in the UK, where they have super anal laws and requirements and whatever else. So there's more to be had here. But this, to me, again, is more proof of big companies aren't going to do much about this stuff. And they're just going to pass the cost on to you. So all you folks that live in the UK that buy your stuff from M&S, get ready for some cyberflation because it's coming your way. Following on to that, Ingram Micro is investigating your ransomware attack. This is a buy the breach opportunity, folks. I'm just going to say that. So this is Cybersecurity Dive. The technology company said the attack has affected its ability to process and ship orders. And this is one of those, when I talk about buy the breach, and it's in the book, there's different types of buy the breach opportunities. There's one where they just have a cursory sort of oopsie and big deal and whatever, and the blip is pretty minimal. There's these types where it's actually their intellectual property and their ability to provide services to customers, clients, etc., where the dip is more significant. So I'm, again, not a smart person, not very good looking, totally someone you shouldn't listen to, not licensed, whatever. But just saying, strategically speaking, mathematically speaking, there is a buy the breach opportunity that will come with Ingram Micro. And I would suggest that, maybe you make some money on it because they're sure as hell going to pass the cost on to us. Ingram Micro said Saturday that it is investigating a ransomware attack after discovering suspicious activity on its internal network. So there's your segmentation thing. The Urban, California-based technology firm said it proactively took certain systems offline after they were proactively breached anyway. Notified law enforcement and trained outside forensic experts. Mandian. The company said it's working diligently to restore normal operations. Well, isn't that special? The SafePay ransomware group has reportedly claimed credit for the attack. Researchers have seen an uptick in SafePay since May. The hacker group, first discovered in October 2024, has breached target companies with RDP. NCC recently responded to an attack linked to SafePay that involved the hackers gaining initial access through a misconfigured firewall and bypassing MFA. Whoops. They also used Screen Connect to gain persistence inside of a network, according to NCC. Ingram Micro has not disclosed any details about how the attackers gained access to its systems. The company has not estimated the hack's financial impact. They reported net sales of $12.3 billion. Let's look at their stock because we can do that. So Ingram Micro stocks. Let's look at the past year here. They're down a little bit. You can see a little bit of blip there. What are they doing over the course of 5 years? Still down a little bit. So what I would suggest based on the buy the breach methodology is don't buy it right now. Start watching, give it about 70 days, not hours, 70 days to level out, and then you buy there and watch the bounce come back on the far end. Their stock's not great to begin with, so you may not make a bunch of money, but play the numbers. 5 lessons from the world's biggest cyber attacks. I bet this is super interesting. This is on Cybercrime Magazine, which actually I like a lot of their stuff. In a recent Forbes article, Bernard Marr, a Forbes contributor and social media influencer, whoever that is, recalls the 2017 Equifax data breach, the 2017 WannaCry epidemic, the 2016 Bitfinex crypto exchange, 2023 Deepfake CFO scam, blah, blah, blah. So the full story. Let's see if it takes us there. 5 lessons. And of course, you have to get through all the crap here. So the biggest headline grabbing heist ever involve eye-watering figures, blah, blah, blah. So here are what I believe the author says are the most important lessons. Equifax data breach, what can we learn? The clearest lesson to be taken from the world's largest ever data theft is the importance of keeping software up to date, aka patching your shit. WannaCry ransomware, what can we learn? Ransomware often infects organizations through phishing and other methods of social engineering. Understanding how to recognize and react to phishing attempts, as well as building a culture of cybersecurity through the workforce, is the first defense. I would disagree with that. I think it's a waste of your fucking time. Use browser isolation, get in front of the people, train them, educate them, absolutely, but don't rely on that as a control. Look what just happened to M&S. The Bitfinex crypto exchange, what can we learn? An important lesson is anyone holding Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is an investment should be very careful about where they keep it. Storing your coins or digital assets offline in a cold wallet is the safest option. So there you go. The $25 million deepfake CFO scam. Deepfake scams will become a growing problem as technology becomes increasingly indistinguishable from real life, which we're already there. Having mechanisms in place to check and verify instructions. So basically, have an out-of-band authentication thing. Make sure your people know that if somebody says, hey, I need $25 million for this, that they call someone, and then not pet you. What can we learn? Not all cyber attacks are about stealing money or data. State-sponsored attacks are growing and are increasingly targeted businesses as well as infrastructure. Great. So there you go. So this was super in-depth, whatever. But the point being, like, the basic stuff that we talk about is still the stuff that is causing the issues that we face. So there you have it. Cybersecurity jobs available right now, July 8th, 2025. This is on HelpNet Security. And I'm putting this out there because a lot of people are looking for jobs. So maybe this will help you guys. Analyst 3, Threat Intel, Verizon Data Services, Hybrid, CISO, Cherokee Federal, on-site, which, I guess where their federal stuff is. Cloud Security Engineer, Salt Security, Hybrid, Cyber Fraud Analyst, Trustmark Bank, on-site. Centaur, Cyber Network Defense Analyst, Cybersecurity Engineer, Certus, Ireland. Cybersecurity Engineer at Tails, Hybrid. There's a lot of jobs in here. Let's see, France, Singapore, France, Israel, Canada, UK, Italy. So these are a lot of overseas and international, but they say hybrid. So, hey, give it a shot. I'll put the link in here too. If you're still looking for work, keep looking because it seems like there's jobs out there, but not a lot of people are hiring right now. CISO series. Security news. Call of Duty game pulled. U.S. military gets cybersecurity boost and bank employee helped hackers. Isn't that nice of them? Call of Duty game pulled from PC store after reported exploit. Call of Duty World War II was quietly removed from the Microsoft Store the weekend after players reported their computers being hijacked mid-game. According to Cybersecurity, the issue may stem from a RCE, remote code execution vulnerability, tied to the game's peer-to-peer networking model. There you have it. Some users report their computers being shut down, ouch, or their desktop images being changed to pornographic content. Kind of funny. U.S. military gets cybersecurity boost. Congress has passed and President Trump has signed a sweeping tax spending bill that includes hundreds of millions in cybersecurity funding, largely focused on military priorities. Key allocations include $250 million for U.S. Cyber Command's AI initiatives, $20 million for DARPA cybersecurity, $1 million for Indo-Pacific Command. That's basically, they need more. They're literally in China's backyard. Democrats criticized the package for excluding CISA. Okay. Bank employee helped hackers steal $100 million. Brazilian police arrested IT employee accused of giving hackers inside access that led to over 540 Brazilian reals, roughly 100 million US, being stolen from the PIX banking system. The insider allegedly sold his credentials to hackers. Hope he made some cash out of it because that was going to federal pound you in the ass prison or Brazilian pound you in the ass prison. They carried out a single night fraud operation targeting institutes connected to CNM. BERT ransomware. BERT. Oh, BERT. A new ransomware group called BERT is actively targeting healthcare tech and event services companies across Asia, Europe. Discovered in April, BERT uses a PowerShell script. Okay, so there you go. So literally, if you don't want to deal with BERT, shut off PowerShell. Problem solved. And you get a note if they get you that says, hello from BERT. Shut off PowerShell. Talk to the folks over at ThreatLocker. They're awesome at this. Criminals reach out to airline. Following a data breach that we first reported last week, this is the CISO series, Australian airline Quantis now says a potential cyber criminal has contacted the company regarding the incident that may have impacted up to 6 million customers. Yikes. Rise of the cheat breach. Identity-based attacks have surged 156% since last year. But don't we have a giant market and all those other startups that should be taking care of this? Just a question. Hackers exploit Shelter Elite tool. Hackers have been using a leaked version of Shelter Elite, a legitimate AV EDR evasion tool to do. How does that work? A legitimate AV/EDR evasion. How is it a legitimate tool? That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, words. Shelter Elite confirmed the breach and came from a licensed customer saying, we discovered that a company which had recently purchased Shelter Elite licenses had leaked their copy of the software. Shelter Elite. Let's go look at those guys. What? I don't understand. Are they a antivirus vendor or did someone just write this up weird? AV version hardware. Shelter Pro. So this is their site, Shelter Elite, most sophisticated loader ever created. Okay. Shelter Elite manages the runtime evasion steps necessary to seamlessly load your preferred C2 beacon. So, I mean, this is built to be malicious, if you ask me, but it's being marketed as, okay, it's overseas, euros. Good question. They have a blog and stuff. Oh, how is that legitimate one? Whatever. All right. Moving forward. U.S. State Department tightens cybersecurity. It's good they do that after this happened, after Marco Rubio impersonation. So you know that they're dragging the bottom of the barrel when they want to impersonate this fuck. The U.S. Department of State has said it's tightening its cybersecurity after an imposter used AI to impersonate Secretary of State Marco Rubio to contact at least 3 foreign ministers. The department was, quote, aware of this incident and is currently monitoring and addressing the matter. The department takes seriously its responsibility to safeguard its information and continues to take steps to improve the department's cybersecurity posture, blah, blah. In an embarrassing security breach, the Rubio impersonator contacted foreign ministers of unnamed country, a U.S. governor, and a member of Congress by sending them voice and text messages. I wonder if it was on Signal. Maybe he was talking to Hegseth. According to the Washington Post, the person used AI-powered software to mimic Rubio's voice and writing style, which is super easy to do. State Department cable, dated July 3rd, which was cited by several U.S. media outlets, said the authorities believed the culprit was trying to manipulate government officials with the goal of gaining access to information or accounts. He or she used both text messages and a Signal messaging app. Yes, I called it. Yes. To contact the foreign ministers and other officials. The campaign began in mid-June when the imposter created a Signal account using the display name marco.rubio@state.gov. So it seems relatively legit because people would fall for that. Let's see. Rubio has been targeted in this way before. In the spring, a deepfake video appeared showing the Secretary of State saying he wanted to cut off Ukraine's access to Elon Musk's Starlink service. There you go. So I hate to be the guy that called deepfakes a long time ago, but I literally wrote about it in my book way before this was a thing. So hooray for Chase. That $1 will buy me a Coke. Politico. Hospital cybersecurity is a potential mega bill casualty. Okay. The cyber community is worried that the megabill's cuts to Medicaid could cripple rural hospitals' already limited cybersecurity measures. First I'm hearing about it, but okay, let's see what this says here. So, President Donald Trump signed the mega bill on Friday, signaling a sweeping legislative thing, blah, blah, blah. Everything about a healthcare provider is about taking care of your patients, and that gets priority to everything, blah, blah, blah. Every dollar you're spending on security is a dollar you're not spending on improving patient care, but patients need to be secure to get care. So doesn't that kind of work together? Filling the gap, the bill includes $50 billion in relief funding for rural hospitals. How can they not do this with $50 billion over 5 years to help curb the impacts of its roughly $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts? To address the looming funding gap, some rural healthcare providers are pulling back on cybersecurity investments, which is stupid. According to a recent report from healthcare sector Black Book Market Research, the report released in June surveyed nearly 200 small hospital leaders on IT vulnerabilities. It found 16% of responding hospitals are delaying or reducing cyber investments related to Medicaid cuts. So I'm going to read this report and go deeper down in the rabbit hole because this seems like it'd be interesting. But here's the question. So $50 billion, and yes, Medicaid is being cut and whatever else to some degree. I haven't really run full analysis on this, so I'm not informed enough to make a smart comment there. But rural hospitals, $50 billion. There's, how many of those is there, whatever. The majority of what you would need to do to be secure does not require $50 billion, I would argue. Matter of fact, I would argue that it probably would cost you exponentially less than that to do this and be more safe and secure every day, every way. I would also say that any hospital that says that it's cutting care for patients because they're spending money on security has their priorities all fucked up if they have looked at the rest of the market and seen what's going on everywhere else. So, there's a back and forth that should occur here. I'll put this out there too. If you're a rural hospital, because I grew up in rural Texas, and you need advice or help about how to do cyber better, please DM me. I will either help you or I will connect you with people that will help you I'll do it for free, but I'll connect you with people that will do it for as low cost as possible because I want people to be safe and secure, especially in rural hospitals. So there you have it. Like, just keep your $50 billion. I'm offering to help out and at least make some connections and whatever else for people that I possibly can in rural hospitals for free for cybersecurity advice and consulting. There you have it. Like, I don't give a shit about the money side of this thing. I'd rather people be safe and secure. So whatever value I provide, there you have it. A couple more here. So I'll download that report and do some analysis there. SEC, this is in Cybersecurity Dive, seeks SolarWinds settlement and reversal for agency. The decision by the commission, now under Republican control, could reshape the landscape of corporate accountability, and we need that. The SEC has reached a settlement with SolarWinds and the company's CISO, Timothy Brown, to resolve charges stemming from the Russian-backed cyber attack on the company's systems. The parties, quote, have reached a settlement in principle that would completely resolve this litigation, the SEC said in the filing last week, which I'm going to go look for the filing. Okay, there's the filing, and I'm going to download that because I want to read it. I love publicly available information. Isn't it a beautiful thing? Let me get back to the article because, I jump around and get more stuff. Blah, blah. And of course, there's cookies. The judge quickly approved the SEC's request to stay deadlines in the case, oral arguments, supply chain attack. In October 2023, the SEC sued SolarWinds and Brown, arguing that they defrauded investors by overstating SolarWinds' cybersecurity practices and understating or failing to disclose known risk. A judge dismissed most of the original charges last year. They also charged 4 SolarWinds customers for allegedly misleading investors. It's unclear why the SEC chose to settle the SolarWinds case, and the agency spokesman declined to comment on its rationale. But when the then Democratic-led commission brought the charges, the 2 Republican appointees dissented, later criticizing the commission for playing Monday morning quarterback. You know what? Since we're on this thing, let's go look at the actual filing. Where was it at? Anyway, there it is, filing last week. Let's read what this says and zoom in because I'm blind. All right, this is case blah, blah, July 2nd. Honorable Paul A. Engelmeyer, Southern District of New York. The parties in this case, SEC versus SolarWinds and Timothy Brown, have reached a settlement in principle that would completely resolve the litigation. Like all settlements in SEC cases, settlements subject to review and approval by the commissioners. Okay, so basically this is just the thing that says that they're agreeing to allow them to figure out the rest of the settlement. So not a whole lot of super interesting stuff there, but I want to know more about what's going on here, and they're going to have to release this. So when this comes out, I'll do some running through on it. Quantis says large amount of customer data stolen in cyber attack on call center, even though when they originally were breached, they said there wasn't a large amount of data stolen. So there you go. That's why I always say start the clock. Australian carrier Quantis said hackers who breached one of its call centers stole a significant quantity of customer data. Quantis is investigating the extent of the intrusion, but warned that hackers accessed a, quote, significant amount of customer data, including the typical bullshit everybody gets hit with, right? Names, address, phone number, date of birth, frequent flyer numbers. Stand by for your free credit monitoring from Quantis. The airline said about 6 million customers had service records on the platforms, working to determine how many were accessed. All of Quantis systems are now secure, and the airline is operating normally, according to the company. It said it was in the process of contacting customers about the incident. Scattered Spider was a part of this here, and then you can see where they crawled from Alaska to Hawaiian to Quantis to blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, airline stuff. Another article in Cybersecurity Dive, FBI cyber guidance to lawmaker falls short, U.S. Senator says. Senator Ron Wyden wants FBI briefings to cover 4 often overlooked cybersecurity practices. All right, let's see what you got here, Ron Wyden. In a Monday letter to FBI Director Kash Patel, which I'm going to get the letter here, Senator Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, asked the Bureau for more detailed recommendations that his colleagues could implement to keep Russian, Chinese, and other cyber operatives from accessing communication devices. Wyden said he was concerned that the FBI, which has warned about attempts to impersonate senior officials, like I just talked about with Rubio, was not taking seriously the counterintelligence threat posed by spyware, not providing government officials with effective cybersecurity guidance to defend against the threat. Now, I would argue that there's been plenty of guidance, plenty of education, plenty of training, especially if you're up there echelons of the federal government. Like, you know what you're not supposed to do, but people do it anyway because they're fucking dumb. So, yeah. FBI representatives have given senators basic remedial advice, such as warning them not to click suspicious links, which is stupid, just browser isolation. But these tips are insufficient. Wyden has been one of Congress's most outspoken opponents of the spread of commercial spyware. In his letter, he noted that foreign governments had used the technology to surveil American diplomats, White House officials, members of Congress, as well as human rights activists. And this is his quote, in spite of the seriousness of the spyware threat, Wyden wrote, the FBI has yet to provide effective defensive guidance. I disagree with that there, sir. So there's a lot of guidance. Here's the actual letter from this dude, Wyden, to Kash Patel. Dear Director Patel, I write with concern that the FBI is not taking seriously the counterintelligence threat posed by spyware, is not providing government officials with effective cybersecurity guidance to defend against the threat. Further, so let's see. They talk about potential victims of spyware, opt-out commercial data brokers. So this letter is pretty blah. I mean, basically it says, help us. We don't understand what's going on with cyber, and you're not telling us what we have to do, and we should be getting more information from cyber. So yeah, whatever. I'll talk about that in a second. And finally, researchers expose scattered spiders, tools, techniques, and key indicators. So read this article. This is on cybersecuritynews.com. Key indicators and phishing domains. If you see these inside of your systems, you have a problem. Domains mimic legitimate corporate login portals. The typical naming conventions include victimname-sso.com, victimname-servicedesk.com, victimname-octa.com. So pretty simple. Sophisticated attack arsenals, SIM swapping, MFA fatigue attacks, and phone impersonation attacks. For tools like credential theft, they use Mimikatz, which if Mimikatz is working in your system, you are definitely in trouble. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, all right. So back to the end state here. Let me wrap things up because I try and get this done in under 30 minutes as much as possible. There's not reason for this stuff to continue going on the way that it has been going on. It's problematic that we have people that are using the political back and forth to cop out of their own responsibility in this space. Like, I get why Wyden is arguing what he's arguing. And sure, you can say that you're not getting enough from the FBI, but really what that is I don't like the Republican side of this, so I'm going to call him out. I'm not a partisan person, but Senator Wyden, if you just Google cybersecurity best practices, you'll find lots of information. That's not from the FBI, I'll give you that. Kash Patel's not writing it, but you could still use that stuff. And I would also say, because I know it for a fact, Congress gets briefings on cybersecurity best practices all the time. You guys know what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. You just don't. Other than that, like I say, busy week, lots of stuff going on, lots of buy the breach opportunity to go make some of that money back, because Lord knows they're going to pass the cost on to us. I'll be at Black Hat in August doing book signings. My new book about zero trust market guide is coming out at the end of the month. So get you a copy of that. If you go to my Patreon, I'll give it to you for a discount. And as always, I give that money to a veterans charity anyway. Stay smart, stay safe, stay secure. We'll catch you on the next one.